Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and that is more like it. After a polarizing day 2 of the NFL draft for the San Francisco 49ers, they struck back in a big way on day number 3, getting multiple certified draft steals in round number 4, finding what could be their tackle or even guard of the immediate future, and they get some beef on the trenches. It's a great day to be a Niner fan after what was, again, not a great day 2, or at least a questionable one. I think day 3 brought some more comfort for the entire fan base. With that in mind, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Leave us that 5-star audio podcast review, and let's dive into the San Francisco 49ers day 3 of the 2026 NFL Draft, starting off with round 4, pick 107, and it made the Oklahoma Sooner fan in my heart skip a beat, because when the San Francisco 49ers picked and the draft chime came up and I saw the name defensive tackle Gracen Halton out of Oklahoma, I said, this is an excellent pick. We talked about throughout a lot of the draft content we did on the show that the Niners had to find more depth at defensive tackle, and somehow that, when the pick came across, seemed to be a point of contention of like really a defensive lineman after drafting Alfred Collins and West and Micah Williams last year, and even really in this draft adding height in the round 3. People didn't like the positional value of this one for San Francisco. And to that I say, you're so wrong. This is a great pick by the 49ers. Halton is 6'2", 290 pounds, 31.25-inch arms, 22 years old. And I do think that, like last year, CJ West was my favorite pick of that draft class. And while I do think he wasn't the best player last year, the value, the player he can become, does make him, and still, my favorite pick of last year's class, to whereas Gracen Halton might be my favorite pick of this year's draft class for the San Francisco 49ers. So I'm sure you're asking out there, okay, Sterling, why do you like him so much? I like him because it makes the Niners pass rush that more ferocious. You saw what Matthew Stafford can do when he has a clean pocket. You've seen what Sam Darnold can do if you don't get pressure on him. And while maybe you aren't too worried about the Cardinals, the Niners walked out of last year with 20 sacks, right? John Lynch talked about it over and over and over again. I mentioned that exact same thing when they took Romello Height at pick 70. That same thing applies here at pick 107, is that instead of walking into this year with the exact same defensive line where it's, it's Nick Bosa, it's Micah Williams, it's Bryce Huff, it's Kalia Davis, it's Alfred Collins, it's Jordan Elliott, it's CJ West. Now you're walking into this year with Nick Bosa, Micah Williams, Height, Osa Digizua, a much better interior defensive pass rusher. Alfred Collins in year 2, West in year 2. You're adding Gracen Halton to that room, taking away, if you could even miss, Kalia Davis or Jordan Elliott. I love this for San Francisco. I think it's a great pick, but why? Outside of improving the pass rush, what are his strengths and what are his weaknesses? Starting off with the weaknesses. Gracen Halton, in my opinion, right now, while not a one-trick pony, isn't somebody you want to play against the run very often. Where you talk about third down defense, a rotational piece, that is where Gracen Halton flourishes, right? He played in all 13 games last year for the Oklahoma Sooners, but he only started at 7 games. Yet in those 7 starts and in those 13 total games, 33 tackles, 7 tackle for losses, 3.5 sacks, 2 PBUs, and 1 forced fumble. Get this, though. In playing about 32.5 snaps per game, Gracen Halton had 30 total pressures. That's like nothing when it comes to snaps per game. And to have 30 pressures within that period is incredible. Also, we know the Niners, high character people jump off their tape. They love the gold helmet stuff. I wouldn't be shocked to hear Halton did get one of those, being a team captain last year for the Oklahoma Sooners. But again, who is he? What are the weaknesses? I do think that Gracen Halton, for all the good he can do in the passing game, he's a weapon there. He can get to the quarterback extremely quickly, an amazing first step. The hand technique is not where it needs to be. He isn't refined as a pass rusher just yet. A lot of upside, a lot to like immediately, but the hand technique, how he uses his hands, not somebody you technically want to stack and shed continually, not somebody you believe can be a 3-down player right now at the NFL level. I do think his pass rushing plan, albeit again, has a very quick step, can dip his shoulders and get around and kind of cut through lanes. You would like if he had more of a pass rushing skill set, more of a plan to attack guards and centers and get to the quarterback outside of just using shoulder dips and his incredible first step. Like I said, not a run offender. He's undersized. He's 6'2", under 300 pounds. That's when you see guys get displaced against bigger centers, bigger guards. You can see them kind of be a non-factor on running downs because, well, they're getting double teamed or they're getting moved around and jostled by some bigger offensive linemen, but has a really high motor. While that is great, it does lead to missed tackles, some bad angles being taken against the run or against the pass via chasing somebody out of the backfield via quarterback, or whether it be a running back. The anchor, it's not bad. It is subpar, but it's not bad. I do think he has more strength in his upper body to push around offensive linemen, and I do think that he does translate speed to power pretty well. But again, the anchor isn't great. He can get pushed around a lot by bigger offensive linemen. And being a rotational piece at Oklahoma, there are questions of, can you grow into maybe a starting caliber player at the NFL level? But a lot of those weaknesses, one, are coachable. You can't coach size, unfortunately, but you can coach hand technique. You can coach, your pass rushing plan. Like, those are things that with Chris Koceric, with hopefully Raheem Morris at the helm, that some of these things can get cleaned up. He's likely never going to be a run defender, and if he is, it'll be kind of a lower level type guy. But if you can be adequate to Jordan Elliott or Kalia Davis, but be 2 times, 3 times the pass rusher they are, that's a starting caliber player in the NFL. So, like the upside for sure, and I haven't even gotten to his strengths just yet. Gracen Halton is an athletic freak from Oklahoma. I mentioned it kind of scattered through the show already. An explosive first step, just jumps off the tape, and you go, oh, what was that? That's how explosive he is. He's somebody that off the snap of the football, he can get in the backfield in a flash. This is like an immediate ability to get in the backfield, get to a quarterback, and kind of create some havoc. I would urge you, if you are asking, like, okay, Sterling, what game should I watch? What film should I watch? Go watch Gracen Halton play against Alabama. Alabama has notoriously had NFL caliber offensive linemen, whether it be tackles, guards, centers. There's always somebody from Bama being taken in rounds 1 through 7. Gracen Halton made that offensive line look like Swiss cheese. And if you can do that in college, it makes you really excited as to what he can do in the NFL. You go to his numbers, a 10.7 10-yard split. For being 6'2", 290, ran a 4.8 40 time. This dude can move. He can go one sideline to the other. He can get in the backfield in a hurry. He can chase down running backs on screens. And there's so much to like. On top of that, though, because I do think the Niners right now, the way they have constructed their defensive line, this offseason has certainly been um, filtered towards getting to the quarterback, hence the 20 sack comments by John Lynch and myself over the last couple days. But they walked into last year's draft wanting run defense. Michael, who I think is a good base down edge rusher, slide him onto the interior. Alfred Collins, a run defender with a high upside as a pass rusher. West, similar type of player. But this year, total opposite. It is get to the quarterback, get to the quarterback, get to the quarterback. But within that draft class in 2025, Michael Collins and West, you add it to Bosa, now Odigizua, you are going to be able to run stunts like crazy now that you've added Halton to that room, where if for whatever reason Osa goes down, you still have a threat in the pass rushing game on that defensive line that you believe can get in the backfield in a hurry. But also, if you want to have on third downs or whatever, you want to rotate guys and you want to have Michael out there and Bosa out there and Osa and Halton, you now have legitimately, if you want to run stunts, 3 to 4 guys that can be utilized. That way you can run loops and stunts. And it adds, like, the one way I would describe what San Francisco likes to do defensively with their front four is just create some type of tornado or hurricane or some sort of natural disaster. They want to eliminate the offensive line's ability to just, okay, they're going straight lines at us. And you have your guy, you're going to double here. They want to have guys go left and right and stunt and loop and just make it look like there's a hurricane, there's a tornado, there is a blizzard coming towards the offensive line of havoc, of people shifting, moving around, and make the offensive line feel like they can't control what's coming. You can do that with the guys you brought in, with the guys you're getting back healthy this year, but also you add Holton to that room, and it's like, wow. You've added speed with height and Holton. You've added some star power with Odigizua, and you've added some beef last year with Michael Collins and West. So like this pick a lot. I think it's a great pick by San Francisco. Halton has strong hands and a high motor. He's somebody that can, let's say they create that chaos and the quarterback's like, gotta run. It's a dump off to a running back. He'll clean that up. He's somebody that can turn around, shift his hips, and get going in a jiff, if you will, if you want to use that terminology. But he's also a strong player. The anchor isn't great, but I do think he can control blockers with his hands and the upper body. And for a small player, again, being 6'2", 290, he can control them a little bit. And he does kind of peek in the backfield at times and look for the ball carrier and see where things are, even if he wouldn't be asked to do much in the NFL. So love this pick. This will get kind of my love it grade, if you will, on day 3. And, I was driving around at work on Saturday, hence why this is coming out a day later than it should. And the immediate reaction was just like, man, the Niners defense got faster. It got more explosive, and it's going to be able to get home in 2026 because of height and Halton, on top of getting back Bosa and Michael and adding Odigizua this offseason. So I love this pick so much. I hope with what Halton showed at Oklahoma, if that translates, man, the Niners have, 3 to 4 deep on the interior defensive line to get to the quarterback, and they've added some more pieces on the edge. So love this pick wholeheartedly. I stand behind it firmly. And he was somebody I didn't think would be there on or in round 4. He's more of a kind of a day 2 pick in my eyes, kind of a round 3 type player, mid to early round 3. He was there early round 4. For whatever reason, I think San Francisco got a steal like they did last year with West. So I love this one. think it improves them in so many different ways on the defensive line and makes them more dangerous, and hopefully alleviates the pressure off of the linebackers and the secondary because they didn't get a safety. So you gotta have some help on the back end. But moving forward, later into round number 4, the Niners drafted maybe my favorite pick of the entire draft, or at least it's not my favorite because Halton certainly has that claim. I think maybe who I believe is their best pick. Um, and it's somebody I don't think most people have watched, have heard about, have read about. That being round 4, pick 127 overall, offensive lineman Carver Willis out of Washington. I'm like really close to giving this an A+ grade. We'll do draft grades in the next couple days when I can watch more of these guys and really get more in depth into each and every prospect to give them their due diligence and examine the draft board and who I would have taken at certain places. But Carver Willis is a certified steal, like 100%. You can make the case that, and I'll hopefully try to, when talking about him, that he might be the starting left guard this year. Now, he'll have to fight for it for sure, as every rookie does, but I think he has the traits to be a left guard, a center, in a pinch, play tackle for you. I do think there is a lot to like as a tackle, or at least, a lot of people said we want a developmental tackle that can play guard. In the meantime, that is exactly what you're getting from Carver Willis. Going into more of who he is, his strengths, weaknesses, his size, his build. He's 6'5", 303 pounds, 32.5-inch arms. He's 24 years old, a fifth-year senior. He's a 3-year starter, but a 1-year starter at UW. He played previously at Kansas State, 3 years ago, transferred, I believe, last year to Washington. Does have tackle, guard, and maybe even center flexibility. So if you hate Jake Brendel, maybe there's a chance Willis becomes the heir apparent to him because he is in the last year of his deal. So maybe there's a case to be made that Willis could become, if not Trent's replacement or McKivit's replacement, maybe he becomes Jake Brendel's replacement in 1 year's time. But the weaknesses is he is coming off of a year where he did suffer a somewhat major injury, had a midseason MCL tear that did cost him a couple of weeks, but he came back, I believe, roughly a month later from that. And unfortunately, while you can give him his flowers of trying to battle things out and prove that he can kind of gut through an injury, if you will, it didn't offer the best returns for him. His worst tape was after the MCL tear, which, I mean, yeah, you tear your MCL, you recover. The odds are your first couple games back, which happened to be his last couple games of the season, you're probably not going to be yourself. But I do think, and we'll get into it later, that there is a lot to like from a player like him, despite the injury he had last year and despite maybe what could be making Niner fans cautious of, well, you're already hurt in college, it's going to happen again. There's no promise of that, and hopefully, in his case, it doesn't happen again in the NFL. But continuing on here with the weaknesses in his game, he does have shorter arms, again, 32.5-inch arms. That is below the what you'd like to think is the NFL tackle threshold length for arms, which the big reason for that is that you allow edge rushers, other defensive players to get to your chest if they have longer arms, to penetrate you, to push you back, to gain leverage on you as a pass rusher. That said, I don't think that's going to be a problem at guard. Most defensive tackles have shorter arms, like take Gracen Halton, for example, 31.25-inch arms. Well, if you're playing against people like Gracen Halton, who albeit is smaller in size and stature, there's like a whole inch difference there. If not more, almost an inch and a half difference in their arm length. So I don't think the arm length concerns or lack thereof when it comes to length will be a problem sliding inside and you alleviate one of the weaknesses in his game where he played tackle at UW. Moving on, though, we talk about that of, yeah, he can be a guard, he can be center. He's never played guard. He's never played center at the collegiate level. So we can project that, predict that, and believe that. But the problem is he's never done that. So you haven't seen it yet. Can he do it? Will he be able to transition from tackle to guard? I think he can. I think most that have watched them and been honest with themselves would say it's certainly in there. But the question is, you can think that, you can look at it and go, well, this makes sense, and he moves like this, and his strengths would project to be a guard or a center. But sometimes things don't click. So there is some uncertainty as to if he can transition into being a guard instead of being a tackle at the NFL level. The next weakness I have is he has good enough play strength. He isn't getting tossed around left or right. He isn't being thrashed around by defensive linemen. But the anchor, if he were to play tackle and go against bigger defensive linemen on the interior, I do think at times, because he is 303 pounds, he might be better off gaining 10 to 15 pounds in the NFL and putting on some density to, like, if you can get tossed around by bigger edge rushers, imagine what will happen to you when you have guys that are 20, 30 pounds heavier than them, if not more at times, playing in the interior. Now, again, I think he does have strength. He does have good enough play strength. The question is, if you're going to move inside, maybe there is, a ask, or maybe there is a bit of a growing pain trying to put on some weight in the meantime to make sure you can battle against the 300-pound, plus defensive lineman on the interior, where most edge rushers rank around, you can have guys at 250, sure, but most guys are around 280. Some guys are at 290. Sure, it's a wide margin, but you're going to face defensive tackles that way plus 300 pounds at times. Albeit in this day and age, it's a lot lighter defensive tackles, but still, Seattle's got some beefy dudes up front. The Rams have beefy guys up front. Poona Ford's a small guy, but he'll toss you around. So, I do think that while the play strength is good enough, putting on some pounds, some beef, some tonnage, if you will, might benefit him in the long run if he is going to play guard or center in the NFL. And I do think one of the technical issues I've seen with him, and it's the reason why he actually got hurt when he tore his MCL, is he'll take the extra step in his kick slide. And he got rolled up on. The guard rolled up on him, and he tore his MCL because of that. So one of the techniques that they're going to have to clean up is that you don't want to take the extra step, maybe lose leverage one way, maybe lose your balance. But again, a lot of that can be solved if you're playing inside. But that, to me, is one, I wouldn't say red flag. It's just one thing you have to coach up, where if Chris Forrester, if you believe he's the offensive line guru, then that shouldn't be a problem. But it is worth noting that the extra step in his kick slide is what led to his injury. So if you can clean it up and not lose leverage or give away your positioning too quickly, it's going to benefit him in the long run and hopefully make him a better player, maybe make him a better tackle and guard in the future. But the strengths. When I tell you Carver Willis is the epitome of a Shanahan offensive lineman, whether that makes you happy or upset or make you say that hasn't always worked out, he is the epitome of a Kyle Shanahan offensive scheme, offensive lineman. The way that this dude moves, again, he's an average athlete. He's not going to, break the RAS score meter, right? But he has really quick feet. He can sustain blocks incredibly well. He's someone that plays wide, which is good because when you're 303 pounds and you're 6'5", you want to be able to use your arm length, your mass, and feel like kind of a brick wall. And I think in his case, albeit maybe he needs to improve the anchor, there is a sense of like, I'm widening the gate of which you have to get by, which is what you want to do as an offensive lineman. And I think, for a player like him that maybe is an average athlete with really good feet and quick feet, he also is incredible with his hands. One of my biggest knocks on Chase Basantis was the hand technique. It's inaccurate, it's wild, and sometimes it just doesn't hit right. Carver Willis is, I don't want to say technician, but the hand speed is top notch, in my opinion. He is hitting, he's technical in his attacks, and he does pack a punch. And on top of that, he gets off the line of scrimmage incredibly well. He had an incredible 1.84 10-yard split. He jumps off the line. His best work maybe is when he's on the move. He can be a pull blocker. You can get him into space. I think, last year, albeit not a lot, but there were times where Spencer Burford was late getting out on screens. Austin Pleasance, albeit a left tackle, was late on screens at times as a backup for Trent Williams. Willis, I don't think that'll be a problem with. Now, that's a timing-based thing, and he'll have to get into the offense and get comfortable with the plays, but I do think because he's so fast off the line, he doesn't have heavy feet, that you can use him as a pull blocker on the ground in the running game, but also on screens, getting him out in space and letting him go to work. Because when I tell you, this dude, and pardon my French, he's an asshole when it comes to the running game. He wants to take your head off, eat you, spit you out, and then drink your blood. Like, this guy wants to lower his head. He wants to cave your dome in, and he's like, bring it on. Let's light up a room, because let's go to war. He's aggressive. He's confident. And I think he knows his spots. He knows where to hit guys. He isn't someone that I think, you look at and you're like, oh, he's over aggressive, he'll miss. Sometimes he'll lunge, unfortunately, in his pass protection, which, again, is a technique problem that you hope you can clean up. But as a run blocker, that's a bread and butter, baby. This dude, I think, can play immediately for you. Now, he is a little older. He's 24 years old, so you're hoping that's the case. And I think it is the case. When you start for 3 years in college, albeit at tackle, you need to give him one off-season program in the Niners system. And I think with Robert Jones, that he does have starting capabilities at left guard. I think the Niners view this as a fourth-round guard that can start on day one. And like, Spencer Burford had heavy feet. The reason why Jake Brendel, for all the bad he does, Burford wasn't helping him a ton. Now, Burford was better last year than he was in previous seasons, but you saw against faster, quicker, stronger, more aggressive defenses, it was kind of a nightmare. That's why against Seattle, funny enough, Ben Barch actually played better against that defense, because Ben Barch, despite the injuries he has, is more nimble on his feet, can read and react better, in my opinion, and I think, this plays faster, right? Whereas Carver Willis, while I'm not comparing him to Ben Barch, it's much faster than Spencer Burford was last year, which maybe isn't a good baseline for you, but I do think Willis does possess adequate speed, above average speed, and really I think you can jump up to excellent speed, great feet, good hand work, and just watch him run as a blocker on the outside. Like, one of the reasons I loved Keelan Rutledge, who went in round one, mind you, to the Texans, was he was just a jerk against the run. As a pull blocker, although Rutledge had some body size and like body proportional issues of like, he was a really thin lower half guy that can run well and like get out in space, but had a powerful upper half, but the lower half being thin did cause problems. Willis, I don't think, will have those problems. Rutledge's upside's higher, but I think Willis kind of fits the Niners more than Rutledge did, even if I think Rutledge is a higher ranked player and there's less concerns of injury and whatnot with him. And there's more believability that Rutledge is like a day one impactful guard. He's only been a guard in college. Willis does have to learn to play guard. That to me is like one of the bigger knocks. But even then, it's like this dude is like, I don't want to say perfect, but it's like you want to talk about like draft position and value and prospect. This is close to an A plus as I think you can get for me. And I think you'll see that maybe in my draft grades coming out pretty soon in the next couple of days. Willis is awesome. And I hope I'm not wrong here, because if I am, I feel like I've failed everybody, including myself, and will have to reevaluate my draft evaluations because Willis, I just love this pick so much. And it's weird saying that because we walked out of day 2 of like, okay, it stays on Stribling. I see why. I get why. Maybe I wish it was 10 to 15 picks later. Okay. Height, I loved it. I said, heck yeah. The Kalon Black pick, it's like you left day 2 feeling underwhelmed, whereas day 3, to begin day 3, the first 2 picks, you're like, oh, Niners are back, baby. The redemptive arc has begun, and that continued with their 3rd pick on day 3. But first, I gotta remind you to go to SeatGeek.com and use our promo code 49ersaccess, 49 ERS ACCESS at SeatGeek.com to save yourself $20 off your first purchase. Whether it's MLB games, the NBA playoffs are still in full swing, the WNBA is getting ready to go. If it hasn't already started yet, I don't know. I don't follow it, but if you do, maybe you want to go to concerts. I don't know what you do in your free time. That's your business. But if it is your business to go to those events, you should really be inclined to use the promo code 49ersaccess on your screen right now and through my lips and words, hopefully into your SeatGeek account to save yourself $20 off your first purchase. And now back to what you actually came here for, Niners Day 3 draft contentio. Okay, love their first 2 picks, and the love continues like it's 1973, baby. The love is free, and it's certainly shared because at pick 139 in round 4, the San Francisco 49ers again, I think, got an awesome player that could start, I won't say this year, but it'll certainly add a lot of depth and a potential starter to their cornerback room in one of the best draft names ever, and maybe one that makes a Key and Peele sketch if it was about half a decade to a decade ago, that being Ephesians Prysock, cornerback out of Washington. This dude isn't an athletic freak, but the build is a lot to like. 6'3" and 3/8 inches, almost 6'3 and a half. That's a tall cornerback on the outside, 196 pounds, a smidge under 200. He has 33 and 1/8 inch arms, an 80 and a half inch wingspan. This dude is tall. This dude is lengthy. And honestly, if he played about 200 pounds, you can make the case the dude's a pretty thick guy. But being that tall, the build is somewhat slender. But when you have longer arms and you're that tall, that's a lot of fun and a lot of player to work with if you are Raheem Morris on this defense now. Niners brought in a new DB coach. Raheem Morris is known to get his defensive backs. Everybody thought of safety. We'll get into that maybe more in the draft grade episode because this is more about reacting to the players themselves. But Ephesians Prysock, man, as a cornerback is awesome. He's somebody I heard of a few months ago, getting more into draft content and like, kind of looking through the players and everything. And I was like, who is Ephesians Prysock? Then you watch his tape and you're like, oh, that's Ephesians Prysock. Okay. Like, I like what I see. He's 23 years old. a 3-year starter at the collegiate level. He's played outside cornerback throughout his entire collegiate career. So they didn't go nickel after signing Nate Hobbs. They have Stout. They have Siegel. They didn't go safety, but they now have added Jack Jones and Ephesians Prysock to that room. Hobbs can also play the outside as well. So for those of you out there that maybe aren't Darrell Luter Jr. fans, get ready to probably watch him get cut this offseason. Or maybe if you're saying trade Renardo Green, I don't think it'll happen, but Ephesians Prysock certainly adds some fuel to some of whatever fire you are trying to light in regards to drama for the San Francisco 49ers. But the weaknesses first. Prysock is not this fluid hip machine that can just flip on a switch and go. Tighter hip cornerback. I think he relies on his makeup speed too much, in my opinion. So when you're playing the likes of these route running technical receivers where you're like, oh my God, like your JSNs, maybe your Puka Nakuas, albeit Puka, he's a thicker guy and probably isn't the most fluid, but does run really great routes. Guys like that, though, guys you're like, I got to play that dude twice a year. Oh, God. I don't want to. Devontae Adams, when he was in his prime, comes to mind, albeit he's still in LA and still comes to mind. It's not going to be as simple as go 1v1, right? He's a tighter hip player, not super twitchy for an athlete. I do wish he would take more chances as a cornerback when you have 6'3" plus height and you have over 33-inch arms. It's like, take a chance, man. Like, the odds you can get some part of your body on the football is really high. I think, a lot of the questions or drawbacks to a lot of the safeties in this class, AJ Halsey, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, Bud Clark, Jalen Kilgore, who can play nickel more so than safety. And this is a more of a general statement, is a lot of those guys take chances. And sometimes, like Bud Clark, who's now a Seattle Seahawk, they miss a lot. But if you can miss and maybe doesn't crush your team or allow a touchdown, that's okay. But if you hit, you're getting pass breakups on third downs, forcing punts, interceptions for your team, where it's like, I wish Prysock was more aggressive in coverage at times, and more aggressive in the sense of fighting for the football, because he does get grabby. He had 6 penalties last year. It's not what you want to see. And it's not because he panics, because he does have the makeup speed. I just think he holds somewhat at times towards the line of scrimmage more so. And it's like, you don't have to do that. Now, I'm not sure if that is like a reaction to not having the tightest hips and believing that I can't on a trigger just go, but he has makeup speed. And so it's like, it's kind of like, what's the plan here type of thing for me with Prysock. He also, and I think this may be a big reason why he's not able to be more aggressive in coverage at time, especially downfield. His head is, he doesn't turn his head around a lot. And that'll lead to penalties at the NFL level. But also, it's like, you have the size and the length, man. Like, if you can get your head around, you can put your hands up, you can knock the ball away, and you can maybe turn what is some of the catches you allowed, or maybe some balls that should have been intercepted or broken up. Like, it can lead to more playmaking ability in his game, where right now it's like, I wish there was more of that. But the good thing is, while you can't teach, looser hips at the, in the NFL, you can have guys be more aggressive, but sometimes it is in their nature to not be. But you can teach getting your head around. Like, that is something that is coachable, and hopefully the Niners' new kind of DB regime, if you will, can do that. I think he's not somebody you want in press man coverage right now. He's a work in progress. And I think his tighter hips are a big reason for that. He's somebody you want playing off of receivers, not playing in press against them, because tighter hips against a route runner, not fun. But that is where I think his makeup speed certainly helps, where when he gets beat, it isn't the worst thing in the world because he does have really nice speed to make up for it. Like I already said, going into his strengths, and there's a lot of them. Excellent size, excellent length, 80 plus inch wingspan, 6'3", above in size. He has really good speed. He has long strides to maintain his verticality and maintain coverage against vertical threat wide receivers. His long arms, he can jump incredibly high, a 39-inch vertical jump. And it's like, you have these natural ball skills. Like, he had 20 pass breakups and 2 interceptions the last 3 seasons. Like, imagine turning the missed opportunities into more of that. He's averaging almost 7 PBUs a year in college. Like, you can see in the production that can be so much better if you get your head around or more aggressive in coverage. It's like the dude has he has it all to be a really nice playmaker at the cornerback position. But again, it all comes down to, can you be more aggressive, get your head around, and utilize your length and size to a better degree in the NFL. He's a pretty good tackler. You know, he's somebody that I wish he had more strength for being close to 200 pounds. Maybe he has to put on some weight, but you risk kind of losing some of the speed in that case. So it's kind of a give or take when it comes to maybe trying to make him a better tackler and get stronger, because you are going to have to bring down grown men in the NFL, where in college, sometimes you are playing 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds, where Ephesians Prysock is 23. Okay, well, good luck taking down Puka Nacua, which is crazy, though, because he actually is a solid tackler, and he's been really good against the run the past couple of seasons. So, like, he may not be the strongest player, and that may lead to him, kind of being, I don't want to say bodied, but against your yak wideouts and tight ends, like, it's kind of okay, let's see how this works out. It's not guaranteed, but he does have good tackling technique. He has the length to wrap up guys, and more often than not, he is bringing down somebody he's attempting to tackle. So it's not like, despite his lack of strength, it's like, oh, we're concerned. It's like, no. Like again, take Bud Clark, who play very different positions. Bud Clark has a really hard time tackling. Thinner guy, thinner frame. And it's like, that might be a problem in the NFL for him against teams like the Rams, the Niners, and others, where it's like, Prysock, despite not having amazing strength, it's good enough. I wish there was more, but also his tackling technique is really good. And this may be one of the ways he makes an immediate impact. 4 years of special teams experience. One of the big things you look for in young players is, where's your in? Where can you find playing time? Where can you find your way into getting on the actual football field during regular season games? For Brysock, he's probably not going to play with Lenore, Green, Stout, Nate Hobbs, who was signed to a nice chunk of change as a veteran player. Jack Jones brought in later in the season, or the offseason, excuse me. You have Darrell Luter Jr. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody else, but you are fighting for playing time in that room that has veteran guys or second-year players that are still growing in their youth. He might be able to unseat Darrell Luter Jr. on special teams alone, and maybe even upset Jack Jones for a spot on the roster. But I like what he brings. I think he has really good high zone IQ. He's very knowledgeable how to position himself against high-low concepts. He's not somebody who gets beat deep downfield often, and he is somebody that, albeit has tighter hips, does have the speed to come downhill with some quickness. And then, of course, make tackles because he has the length to do so. To kind of give you more of what the league thinks about him, though, because you can say, well, Sterling, you're one guy. He was a 4th-round pick for a reason. He kind of buried behind a lot of the CBs there. And, he has a cool name, but we've seen this song and dance before. I'd push back on that, but Dane Brugler, who does an amazing job with the Beast, it's the best draft guide out there. If you don't have the Athletic, use archive.is and you can get it for free. But if you are paying for it, you know what I'm talking about here. He had a portion of the Beast draft guide where he said scouts told Dane Brugler that Ephesians Prysock is somebody who likes to be coached hard. So he likes that drill sergeant, get in your face, push you to your limit. And that to me is what makes greatness. You have young guys nowadays where you got the NIL, kids are getting paid in college, and sometimes they can get to the NFL and they've made it. The foot's off the gas. Or when they get to the NFL, you are in a Shanahan offense. You're in a Niners defense where it's like Robert Saleh, who isn't here anymore, is screaming at you. Shanahan is putting you in his doghouse. And sometimes you have young players that don't have the fortitude to push through that. You have guys that are, I don't want to use the word soft. That feels kind of rude. But you have guys that, aren't built to last. Your Trey Sermons, your Ty Davis Prices, your Danny Grays. And that's not even including their lack of football ability, their lack of route running or vision, or for defensive players, their lack of fluid hips and ball skills and physicality and tackling, right? Where Prysock is like, bring it on. I want everything you got because I know what I'm made of. And that's really what you want. You want some grit to your defense. Lenore has that. Mustafa has that. Upton Stout has that, where it's like Ephesians Prysock will fit right in to what San Francisco wants on defense. Not even in talking about his actual skill set, just as a mentality that plays. And hopefully he certainly does in 2026. And on top of that, very durable player. I think he's missed 3 games of a potential 42 in college. So you are getting a cornerback that has rarely ever, if ever, been hurt, and it's never been a serious problem for him. So for the injury nerds out there, gotcha. Gotcha here. But moving along to, again, the Niners just, I think, aced this 3rd round, besides their last pick, but that's kind of a take a shot in the dark and see what works out. Who do you like here? But even then, Jaden Dugger at pick 154 in round 5, from Louisiana, linebacker, former safety convert. I'll be the first to admit, linebacker I don't think was this massive need for the 49ers, but you traded away D. Winters, and you have a lot of guys that are on 1-year contracts who are unproven, right? Nick Martin's in year 2, concussions last year. Dre Greenlaw, 1-year contract, injury concerns. Garrett Wallow, Luke Gifford, they are special teamers through and through, guys you likely don't want playing for you, which happened last year, but you saw against Seattle, although it was a lot of other reasons too, that did certainly hurt the 49ers. Bethune is a Mike linebacker, run defender, but he's not going to play because you have Fred Warner hopefully back healthy for the whole season. So I didn't think it was that big of a need. I didn't love trading D. Winters because of a lot of those concerns you have. But once they traded away D. Winters, I think it became pretty obvious they were going to take a linebacker. And although I don't love this linebacker class, I think there was enough depth. And I think Jaden Dugger offers maybe one of the more, how do I word this? One of the more intriguing upsides of the linebacker class as a whole, and maybe of the Niners' entire draft class. While it isn't the highest upside, when you have Johnny Holland in there as your linebacker coach, you got Fred and you got Dre, they know what they like, and now you have Raheem Morris in the room who's getting guys that he wants for his defense. And you look at how they went about the edge rushing group this year and adding height to it in round 3, who can drop back in coverage. One of the reasons why I thought they would like TJ Parker was he's a thicker player, but he can drop back in coverage and is actually pretty good at doing so. Height is a very similar player in that way, where it's like, if you want to, do a nickel blitz and drop height in coverage, there it goes. And that's where I think Jaden Dugger can also play. Not as an edge rusher, but I do think he can add more versatility to the room. Now, this is the pick that the Niners did trade back from 133 and also got a 2027 sixth round pick. So this pick may be the one where, well, you can debate the consensus board and the big board and all that stuff, which has been a insane conversation on Twitter about it, because the Niners have reached a lot in previous drafts and it's not worked out. But fans are like, the Niners are terrible at drafting, and at times they have been, but they've also had some hits. But recently, it's like, And then you have people in the community and who cover the team are like, no, they're always right when they're not, because they haven't been for a while, and hopefully the last two drafts are going to disprove that. But it remains to be seen. Nevertheless, I think this may be the pick that some people have a problem with because he didn't get a safety, and trading back from 133 may have been one of the bigger causes for that. If you go to the draft tracker and you go to round 4 quickly here, they had 133. They traded it with the Ravens, and they passed on Kyle Lewis, who is a safety linebacker hybrid, more of a safety. Then they took Ephesians Prysock, but then you look at who is in round 5, and you look at people like, I didn't like Kamari Ramsey, but you look at people like Dalton Johnson. You look at people who I loved, Zachy Wheatley, and you're like, had you maybe just stayed at 133, maybe you could have got Zachy Wheatley. Maybe you could have got, a tight end. They didn't take a tight end this year, which was shocking to me, but can't wait to watch Luke Farrell again. But anyways, I'm kind of weaving a path to getting to Jaden Dugger, so forgive me here. But all that said about what they could have done and what could have been, I like this pick too. And I don't want to be a homer. There's certainly concern here. He's definitely a project player. Like that, I'm not expecting Jaden Dugger to play immediately, at all. There's too many guys ahead of him that albeit have their concerns and maybe some question marks next to their name. I do not think Jaden Dugger will play almost at all this year. But he's a 5th round pick with, I think, a nice upside to him. Get this. As a former safety convert, now playing linebacker, he's 6'5", 242 pounds. That is a massive human being. Keep in mind, let me go back to yesterday's, day 2's picks. Romello height, I believe is 6'3". The Niners got a player. He's 6'3", 230 pounds. Jaden Dugger is 2 inches and really above 25 pounds heavier than Romello Height, who's an edge rusher. And the way Jaden Dugger plays, it's like, I'm sorry, who was that 6'5", 242 pound linebacker that was a safety? Who is this specimen playing out of position? Who is this edge rusher playing linebacker? What? I almost think he's bigger than Malachi Lawrence is. Yeah, he's 1 inch taller and about the same weight as Malachi Lawrence was. He's bigger and a little bit lighter than our Mason Thomas is. He's taller than Derek Moore is and about 18 pounds lighter. He's taller than Gabe Yakis from Illinois. He's 1 inch shorter than Zion Young. That's incredible. If you put him amongst the day 1, day 2, maybe early day 3 edge rushers, he's the 3rd tallest dude. It's Keldrick Falk, and then it's Zion Young, and then it's Jaden Dugger. It's what is happening? who is this grown man? Like, it's almost like watching a teenager or a grown man play with little kids at times simply because he's so much bigger than them at the position. But nevertheless, on top of his height and his weight, he has 35-inch arms and a near 85-inch wingspan. We talked about Ephesians Prysock being lengthy and long. He's 2 inches taller than Prysock, 50 pounds heavier than him, and has 4 or 5 more inches when it comes to his wingspan. This is a massive human being. Like, this dude is ginormous. It's like watching a freaking pterodactyl play linebacker, and you're like, thought those things were extinct. This doesn't happen. This isn't real. But it is. And he's only 22 years old. So he's pretty young, albeit that was adequate age for a player a decade ago in the NFL draft. Now it's pretty young for a guy in the draft. And he runs 4.6. He runs 4.6. So he's fast. He's tall. He's long. He's got some weight to him. And it's like, dude. And yet, he's still learning how to play linebacker, and that's the most exciting part. He was a safety, said it plenty of times already, converted to Sam linebacker. And he really didn't catch a lot of people's eyes until the Shrine Bowl, where they said, oh my God, who is this specimen playing linebacker? But at Louisiana for the Raging Cajuns, 125 tackles last year, 13 tackles for losses, 4 sacks, 3 PBUs, 1 forced fumble, and 1 interception. The dude just makes plays. He is see ball, get ball. That's a lot of game-changing plays. When you add in 13 tackles for losses, 4 sacks, 3 PBUs, 1 forced fumble, and 1 he has 22 game-changing plays potentially for you last year alone for Louisiana. That's impressive in itself. So why was he there in round 5 is the question. Besides being a safety convert to linebacker and learning to play linebacker still, and maybe not being somebody who a lot of defensive schemes would give time to grow with, Raheem Morris's defense, I do think, allots him an actual position earlier than most could be if he can grow into a spot as an off-ball linebacker, but that's a thing. He's a late bloomer, 22 years old, learning a new position. It's like, okay, by the time things click, you hope it's early, but you could be 25. Now, it's not like the Niners haven't drafted guys that are 25. Romello Heights 25 this year, albeit he's supposed to make an impact on day one. Duggar's not going to do that by any means. But he also has really stiff hips. Like, we're talking rigid, rusty gears, grinding hips, where you're like, dude, take a Pilates class, brother. Do some yoga. Loosen them hips up if you can, because you run or you look like a 45-year-old. You run 4.6, and that's great, but you're not flipping those hips. You're not. There's no fluidity to his game by almost any degree. But he is somebody that in a phone booth with the defensive lineman or excuse me, with the guard or running back or, playing close towards the line of scrimmage, you can have a lot of fun with. He is somebody that can win in that capacity. I think because he is learning to play linebacker still, the IQ, the diagnostics for plays are just not there yet. Like, he's kind of a deer in the headlights. What am I doing? I see ball, I'm going to react, but knowing where to be, sitting in your zones as in coverage. And, I think maybe even adding 10 pounds or so, 5 maybe, probably better, but 10 can make some sense. Giving himself more strength to operate in the box, come downhill in a hurry, take on tackles and guards and tight ends, and be a steady blitzer. Like, that maybe is in his future, and I wouldn't be shocked if that's the case, because he will get flushed out of the running game far too often and rather quickly, because he is 242 pounds. And I think for his frame being 6'5", it's like, You wish there was more density, maybe a better anchor, the ability to stack and shed. But again, you want him to play off ball linebacker, where in San Francisco's defense, well, he'll blitz at times and he can come downhill. More often than not, you're going to be in coverage. That's how linebackers play. But he might be more of like these specialty players that they bring in on third downs or to kind of get a quick hit on first down. However, despite the issues he's had in the running game, getting flushed out, the body maybe needing some work in the weight room, you do see signs that things are starting to click where as soon as they do click, you can have some fun. Because him being a late bloomer, while maybe leads to a later projection in his NFL career, you can say that that makes his ceiling even higher because there's so much room to grow. Hence the project part of him as a player. He has the excellent size. He has the excellent length. He can go sideline to sideline because he has 4.6 speed, which is what San Francisco wants out of their linebackers. His ability to drop back on coverage, despite tighter hips and guard tight ends, is a very useful tool. You go back to what Raheem Morris used to do and did last year as well, but so I guess kind of blatantly, he likes to do this where he'll drop his outside linebackers, to use an outdated term, in coverage. And he did it a lot with Michael, was it Hopek? Kopech? Michael Cope? No, that's a pitcher. Anyways, forgive me, the name eludes me. But with the Rams, I'll use this since we're Niner fans and we know what the Rams used to do. He would drop the linebackers in coverage and he would trick the quarterback in some degree or have that guy guard George Kittle because he wanted the bigger body player on a massive tight end who has great speed. That is what I think Dugger can do when you have the Rams and 13 personnel that may come into play. When you're having to, guard the Seattle tight ends and deal with them, or on the off chance you're having to play what is becoming one of the more athletic positions in football at tight end, Kenyon Sadiq getting drafted this year onto the Jets, and you have Travis Kelce and Brock Bowers and Sam Laportas and many, many more coming into the NFL and having amazing impacts immediately because they're so athletic, and they're more athletic than linebackers at times and can outman them, outmass them, outbrute them. And they're much bigger than safeties. It's like this is how you offset maybe having a safety cover a tight end at times. But again, despite maybe not being the most fluid athlete, I think he's actually really tough as a player. And if you're not going to be an amazing fluid athlete, despite having all the size, all the length, and having 4.6 speed, shockingly enough, I think he's somebody that if you wanted to use him as a delayed blitzer, coming downhill, as kind of an extra guy in the box to just have a fifth rusher or a sixth rusher, I think because he is so big and maybe if he puts on some more weight, he will be an awesome player coming downhill, working through contact. That'll hopefully improve his run defense. But again, going back to my point earlier, he's very much see ball, get ball. It's like, I may not know where to be. I may have a low kind of IQ when it comes to my diagnostics and awareness, but if I see the ball, I'm getting the football. And that's what comes with the amazing stats, right? 22 game-changing plays last year. That doesn't happen for no reason. So, big fan of Dugger. He is a really good tackler in open field situations, which is nice to see. Sometimes you see linebackers that are fast but aren't fluid enough and have stiff hips. They can't handle running backs or tight ends or receivers in the open field, and they're just too twitchy for them. Whereas Dugger can, which is a really good sign, and really something you want to see, and it gives me hope that he can take the next step in the Niners defense. And I think, despite his diagnostics not being great and there needing to be a lot of work done, I don't think he's terrible in zone coverage. Um, we'll see how that goes. But I don't think he's like useless. I think there is building blocks and like a foundation already set. It's just about, can you continue to build and grow off of that, coming into a new defense, a new scheme, and likely not playing. But I also think that because of Dugger's versatility, being a safety convert, playing linebacker that can come downhill and maybe give you some edge rushing snaps if you really need him to, or just kind of disguise your defense better this year, or if Raheem Morris sticks around for 2, 3, 4, 5 years in the future, certainly then more than now. Um, I do think that he does have a skill set that other linebackers in the Niners room right now don't have. For either not his size, not his length, not his weight, don't have his arm length, or just don't have that 4.6 speed where you're like, whoa. Now, the Niners have linebackers that can fly around, Greenlaw, Martin. I'm not saying they don't have that. I'm just saying what Dugger has is really unique when it comes to the body it's in. Um, and I think his skill set, if developed correctly, can be a weapon for Raheem Morris's defense. Likely 1, 2 years away, maybe 3, if it takes longer, and that may be a hard conversation and pill to swallow. But I do think they're going to have to find a balance in his development of, if he doesn't play a lot because he's behind a lot of linebackers, and let's say those guys stay healthy, which fingers crossed they do, how do you balance developing him, getting him more reps, compared to having him sit the bench during games and only reliant on practice to help him? Now, practice goes a long way. You can get better in practice. Most guys do that, or at least you hope they do that. Most guys who are bench players and grow, Colton McKivitz grew in his years 2, 3, and now is one of the better right tackles in football. You've seen guys throughout the entire league. Juwan Jennings grew into year 2. Now he's, albeit a free agent still, one of the better receivers in football at being that big slot role. You've seen linebackers grow, running backs have grown. It's not like it's unheard of, but it's like at some point, does he have to play to grow? Or is he a guy that can learn behind the scenes and hopefully flourish while not getting a chance to play a lot in years 1, maybe even in year 2? So a lot to like. I think those that are saying, oh, it was a 120 spot reach, it's like, maybe, but I do think the upside is worth taking a chance on. And in this defensive scheme, there is a role that can be etched out for him relatively soon, but maybe not in 2026, which, again, if he's playing this year, it's either a really good thing or a really bad thing. And I would lean towards the latter, because that probably means a lot of guys got hurt again, which is not what you want to see. But moving on to the last pick of the San Francisco 49ers 2026 draft class, it was offensive lineman Enrique Cruz from Kansas at pick 179 overall. And I will say, this is my least favorite pick of the bunch. I would have rather had different players here. Just for example, you can go down the board here, and it's not to pick on Cruz at all. It's just more to be maybe a little more honest in my assessment. I get why they picked him. I completely understand Chris Forrester being like, oh, this is my guy. This is my guy. Got to get him. However, I do think that maybe adding more beef to your defensive line in Zane Durant, or, hell, if you didn't take Keelan Black, you could have got Katron Allen there. Josh Cameron, J.C. Davis, I think, is a better player than Enrique Cruz. Pat Coogan is interesting, albeit not my favorite player. Demetrius Crownover is interesting. Damon Claiborne, albeit a running back, so maybe you don't want to go too far. But Logan Taylor from Boston College as a guard. A lot of players I liked over Enrique Cruz. You can even go to round 7. Like, I would have loved to have had Jack Andrews here. Why did Jack Andrews go at 221? If the Niners got Jack Andrews at pick 179, oh my God, they would have aced the day 3 of the draft. Even getting Tim Keenan, who went to the Rams of all places, which sucks for the Niners, like, it would have been a much, much different day where I walk away feeling very enthused by their day 3. But the Enrique Cruz pick was kind of like that's how you're going to end things. But it's your last pick of the draft. You're feeling confident. You had 8 players overall in the class. It's like, okay, let's take a chance here. Let's take a shot at somebody we really like. And hopefully that guy who is undoubtedly a developmental prospect who will likely not play for the next couple seasons, let's see if he can grow, because this is the prototypical Niners, Chris Forrester, Kyle Shanahan offensive lineman that doesn't play for a long time, but sticks around forever. And, when you think about that, it's like, okay, Nick Zakelj, Spencer Burford, and the list goes on and on and on, albeit they don't draft many offensive linemen. Jalen Moore falls into that category as well, where you're like, I get it. I get why you like him. This makes sense. But it's like, what are they going to do for you? But he is a 6th-round draft pick. So the expectation, the bar is not too high. But when you learn about Enrique Cruz, you do start to get it as to why they were like, I'm pounding the table. Who wants the last pick? Chris Forrester's like, me. I want it, me. And this is the guy. So why did they take him? Well, he is 6'5.5" feet tall, 313 pounds, 33 3/4 inch arms. So adequate tackle size, although I do not think he's a tackle in any sense of the word. He's 22 years old, a 5th-year senior, so a younger prospect for today's standards, but still has 5 years of experience at college. And then you realize, okay, he's good size, he's good length. There is a nice 5-year sample size behind him. And then you see the RAS score and you go, oh, that's why. A 9.99. Almost a perfect 10 out of 10 RAS score, stands for relative athletic score. And you dive into the numbers here. His 10-yard split was 1.74. Ding, ding, ding. That is elite. His 20-yard split was 2.88. That is elite. His 40 time was 4.94. That is elite. His 35-inch vertical, that is elite. His 9.8 broad jump, that is elite. This is the most Chris Forrester, he's an athletic freak, I can work with him pick I've almost ever seen. More than Pooney, more than any other player they've drafted. And maybe I'm forgetting somebody else. Maybe Nick Zakelj falls in that category, albeit Enrique Cruz is a much better athlete than he ever was and probably will ever be. This is just like, he has great traits, get him here now, but he has so much to learn because the technique isn't great, a lot of problems, but he'll be a practice squad guy, maybe like the 4th guard on the roster and plays in a pinch, and God, I hope he doesn't play because he isn't ready type of guy. But the question is, what has he shown on tape? Who is Enrique Cruz? If he's that athletic, why was he a 6th-round draft pick? If he's that much of an athletic freak, why did nobody else up to that point take a chance on him? A lot of times traits play in the NFL, right? We talk about it all the time with receivers and Kyle Shanahan and running backs. Like, well, he can do the one thing well, you can use it. Well, in this case, It's not that simple because Enrique Cruz played right tackle um, the majority of his college experience. He has some left tackle experience, but it's not much. Right home, I think it's like 3 games. It's not much over a 5-year span, and it's not really worth bringing up because he isn't the tackle. But last year for Kansas, he got all Big 12 honors playing right tackle, and he did play left tackle at Syracuse before transferring to Kansas. The weaknesses, though, it's a laundry list. The pad level, it's way too high, far too often. I think it is a result of him not being able to get deep in his stance, really tight hips, despite being an amazing athlete when it comes to testing. I don't think that always shows on film. He starts his sets way too high, like most of the time. And when you do that, you give up leverage immediately and you can get guys blown by you as as quick as you can say, hey, they're gone, right? And I think in the running game, when you do that, you're going to get guys into your chest. You're going to start high. You're not going to be able to maintain your leverage and push guys back and open up lanes or secure the edge for your running backs or fullbacks, whoever's running the football behind you, maybe your quarterbacks at times. I think his kick stride, which is funny because has all these amazing testing scores. I don't think his kick stride is quick enough to play tackle. And you will see, like, it'll be, hopefully I'm at training camp this year, but I want to watch him face Romello Height because I think it may be a massacre on Height's behalf. Because Cruz's kick stride is slow, or at least not fast enough, where Height, who has the best get off in the entire draft class, might like one of those things where it's like, oh, don't look, oh my god, like beat him in a flash. And I think like you're gonna see speed rushers blow by him on a continual basis until that changes. And the unfortunate part is like they'll beat him to corners and they'll get around him, they'll dip their shoulder, and it's like sometimes like the last thing you want to do as an offensive lineman is lose from the jump. If you lose to a counter, if you just get bullied back where you can fend them off, it's not great, but it's okay. The last thing you can do is get beat from the snap. And that's what Enrique Cruz does against speed rushers a little more than you'd like, in my opinion. I think he's really impatient at times when you see edge rushers go to the inside moves, give him a counter. They'll go to the outside and cut back inside, give him a Euro step. It's not fun. He'll lunge. He's impatient. He'll be over aggressive, and he'll whiff at times. Really, he's just not somebody who you're like, "Ooh, I'm impressed." You're like, I can see you got some traits. You're a little athletic, but a lot of technical work needs to be done. Right? His how can I relate this to a car? Enrique Cruz is cosmetically pretty. Oh, testing scores. Oh, he's quick. He's fast. Man, he can jump really high. But under the hood, it's like, I'm not a fan of that. The stunts and blitzes against him were a problem, going back to the inside move stuff. And back to him being far too impatient against edge rushers and pass rushers. His hand technique is wild to be kind. It's wild. It's, to not be too mean. It's a little out there on the wild side, and not in the Motley Crue type of way. It's like, oh, what are you doing? Sometimes he will hit, but I think he doesn't do a great job of tracking where the defender is going. And he often stops his feet. And so it's like, despite playing for 5 years, it's like, why do you have so many problems for being as athletic as you are? I'm sure he's a great guy, and I hope he works out. I really do. And maybe some of these problems, more so like in his kick stride and playing speed rushers, like that problem may not be as big of a concern because he's probably going to play guard in the NFL. I also wouldn't mind him being a center. Like that to me makes more sense. Willis plays guard. Cruz is the developmental center who they love to get like 2 or 3 years in advance. Because I do think he might be better suited there. He isn't the tackle, might not even be a guard, but is going to play inside somewhere if he ever does. I just think like, not to say he doesn't know how to play offensive line. That's really rude and mean. And I don't mean it to be that way. It's just like there's a lot to get done here. But there are some strengths to end things in a nice roundabout way. Good frame. His weight is well distributed. Oftentimes you see guys that have really thin lower halves but are really strong on the upper half, and the anchor isn't great. Cruz does have a nice NFL caliber offensive lineman frame. He's a quick athlete, like that can't be understated. But he's quick, not explosive, if that makes sense. And it shows on tape. But I do think the quickness is fine. Like, there's a reason why he was picked here, because he is a quick athlete. You wish there was more explosion, and maybe you can work on that in the weight room, becoming more explosive off the line of scrimmage. He does well enough to operate in space, but is much better as a moving pull blocker. So that kind of is why you hear people, including myself, say guard or center. That probably is what you want more than him being on an island as a tackle. And I think he does, and this is probably why San Francisco liked him a lot outside of the testing scores, is really, really physical run blocker. He is strong enough to push defensive linemen around. He's got heavy hands, a really strong upper body with the shoulders and his core strength and his chest and his arms. Like, he is a very strong player. And against the run, where San Francisco is usually okay giving up some pass blocking ability, if you can move and be a good run blocker, that's why I think they're okay taking a chance on him. But he's a developmental offensive lineman through and through. You're not going to see him for 1, 2, 3 years. He's going to be a guard or center in the NFL. I'm going to assume guard. That's probably a little easier for him to move to, but if they wanted to really, really kind of get him in the lab, maybe try center, because right now it's like Brett Toth and Jake Brendel and Nick Zakel, and it's kind of it behind the scenes. But he's going to need 2 years to grow, at least 2 years to grow. And I think maybe better suited to be a practice squad player that has this incredible athleticism that you want and hope works out, but there's a long way before maybe you see the fruits of that labor. But that is the San Francisco 49ers day 3 of the 2026 NFL Draft. What was your favorite pick? Do you like it as much as I do, or are you equally as against day 3 as you were day 2? Drop your thoughts down below on each and every prospect. Tell me your favorite. Tell me your least favorite. Tell me where you see the most upside, and tell me where you see the biggest downside, and maybe who you would have liked to take on day 3, rounds 4 through 7. If you made it this far, thank you so much. Hopefully you'll like, share, and subscribe to the show. You can follow us on social media at 49ers_access is the X or Twitter. 49ers.access is the Instagram. And again, use that promo code 49ersaccess, 49 ERSACCESS at SeatGeek.com to save yourself $20 off your first purchase. The 2026 NFL Draft is in the books. That does not mean draft content ends here, though. Plenty more coming your way. I'll hopefully give you a more in-detailed, maybe with some clips if they don't get copyrighted scouting reports on each and every player if I have the time. God, I hope I do, because I really want to get those out this year. But quickly, in the next few days or so, maybe as soon as Tuesday, at latest Wednesday, you will get my 2026 49ers NFL draft grades, picks 1 through 8, what I thought of them, the draft value, the player, the position. You have an idea now through days 1, 2, and 3 of what I think of their draft class when it comes to the player themselves and the evaluation, but hopefully I will give you what is maybe the most unnecessary yet simplified version of a team's draft, that being Niners draft grades for 2026. If you like the content, again, like, share, and subscribe. And as always, my name is Sterling Bennett, signing off and telling you, until next time, stay faithful.